YouTube channel. On today's episode of the Designers Now Founders series, we will be having Ayo talk on the topic, the business of design. As you listen, enjoy.
Today I'll be speaking to us about the business of design. I've worked with a number of agencies in and outside of Nigeria as well, and I've seen how much impact design has on an organization, especially an agency. So I've seen an agency go from literally just 1, 2, 3 design members to 10 design members because of the fact that design is actually something that is very, very needed across the board. So I put together this. I found this picture, and if you think about that in perspective, designers have been around since forever. Point of view of the opportunity that is in front of you, the power that you have. I think that all changes your perspective a little bit, right? It also helps you communicate better because you know that what you carry, the skills that you have has actual impact in helping someone's life. The decision that we make in our product design, the decision that we make as designers, often come back to we become it's as essential as that, right? It's I'm not trying to compare our work with doctors or whatnot, right? But it is that important, right? Because if that transaction doesn't go through, right, and maybe this is a little bit more overboard for designers, but if the transaction doesn't go through or there isn't a clear path, let's say this person has to download a particular app for the first time, and then there's a whole bunch of onboarding that they need to do for them to do a transaction, and they only have, maybe 2-3 minutes, right, to do that transaction. If we do too much at that point, right, they probably won't be able to do what they need to do. So we need to put into perspective the real impact that we have in front of us, right, the real opportunity ahead of us. And you have designers everywhere, industrial designers, motion designers, 3D designers, fashion designers. There are designers everywhere, right? And I think that also gives us an idea that it's not just a Figma community, right? It's not just a sketch community. It's not just a Photoshop community. It's much more bigger than that. We have impact in actual the way people live on a day-to-day basis. And then this chart is quite interesting because as designers, we often design charts, right? And this might not be something interesting that you might want to look at right now, but this is also very important that we understand how design actually improves the value of a company over time or their revenue. So if you look at design, forward-thinking companies, the companies who invest in designs, you would see a trajectory that goes up. So there's a 211% difference between companies who invest in designs and companies who don't. What that essentially means is that for companies to survive today, right, as of today, they need to invest in design, right? And what that also means for us, right, as designers, is that a lot of designers will become extremely important to society, that every single person, every single serious business would want to have the best set of designers on their team, right? And there will be so much opportunities, and that's also already happened. COVID and all of that. You've seen that a lot of remote work is starting to happen and all of that. But most importantly, you have companies like Apple, Coca-Cola investing in design. Even Elon Musk's, what's the name again? Tesla, investing seriously in design, because the design is literally the differentiating factor, right? what sets them apart, right, from a Toyota, and from Mitsubishi or whatever, right, is literally the design and the technology that powers it, right? And when you look at it, the design makes you even want to drive the car. The design of iPhones the design of the interface, right, makes you, as a designer, it just calls you, right? Because it's sweet, right? Laptop, for example. Let's even start with the laptops. You'll see that Apple sort of leads the way when it comes to design, right? How they've made laptops extremely flat, how they've designed keyboard, literally how they even designed like the leg, how things should close, the backlight on the Apple, which they took out, right? The simple things, the material that is used, they pay serious attention to all of these details because the details form the design. It's not a design class, but I'm trying to drive somewhere, right? All of these things actually contribute to Apple's overall revenue, and it contributes to the differentiation factor. Because as designers, we actually have impact in their own job as well. And if you think about it, designers at core, designers just want to create beautiful products. They want to design, the best things, the slickest UI, the slickest experience, the slickest animation, and this and that, right? But business, honestly, and if they tell you that we won't like it, right? But businesses don't care about UI or fancy animations and all of that. They care about profit, right? And remaining relevant in the marketplace, right? They want to be competitive. They want to literally dominate the markets, right? That's all a business cares about. Now, when you think about all of the fancy things that you want to create, if you summarize it as a whole, what you're trying to do in essence is that you want to create valuable experience for your users. The business, on the other hand, also wants to create value for the users, right? But their approach is different. Their approach is more like, can we get to them at the best price? Can we get to them at the best, in the best shape? Can we get to them at best quality, right? That's what business cares about, so that they can increase and make profits, right? Increase or make profit. Now, when you think about all of this, right, you need to be able, as a designer, you need to be able to balance this too, right? Especially if you are a designer who, at some point in your career, you're probably looking to take on freelancing gigs or start your own design agency or start design business. You would at some point need to understand this slide, because the value is what is most important, right, for both of these users. The only thing is that we are speaking different languages. The designer is speaking in the language of pixels, right? This person is speaking in charts, right? How can I move my chart from here to all the way to the sky, right? That's what the business cares about. When you stream it down to bottom line, right? That's what they care about, right? And as a designer, you think about the best experience you can give your user that can also drive that bottom line, because actually designers and business people, they're not enemies, they're actually friends. As a matter of fact, designers are also business people. Here's also another illustration to further help us understand what I'm trying to say. So if you think about the value ladder, right, you have the user outcome. So this is where we do all the research, and then we have something testable, something usable, right, to give a prototype or all of this, right? So that or even the actual product, right? So we can say, oh, this is the amount of time it takes to complete a task, right? This is the error rate. This is all of the conversion rate and all of this, right? These are KPIs that are given to designs. And I'm going to touch on that real soon. And then if you move further up on the ladder, you have the product outcomes, which is churn rates, conversion, NPS. Now, all of this is also giving us an idea of it doesn't end with the user outcomes, right? You need to sort of move that up. right, to the actual product impact. Then when it leaves that second layer, it moves to the third layer, which is the business outcome. Does it result into profit, revenue, ROI, a market share? How much market share do I have? If we look at, let's put into perspective Zoom, right here. We look at the Zoom, for example. How does the user initiate a Zoom link, right? You design that experience. How does the user share the Zoom link? You design that experience. How does a user who receives the invite link join the meeting? You also design that experience. How does the meeting happen and how does it, end and all of that, right? You also design that experience. Now, when you streamline all of that experience, that's literally you're playing in the first area, right? Then you push it up a little, one step further, which is product outcomes, right? Where it's like you now start to analyze all the things that you've done in layer one, where it's like drop-off rate and where people are leaving. Are people joining the link? Are people not knowing which link to join? And people don't understand how to join the link or all of that, right? So if you fine-tune all of that, you can increase your retention rate, your conversion rate, and even download rate, because people will now start to download your app more, right, than ever. And then all of that, right, when there's a lot of activity and all of this, oftentimes it results into profit, results into market share. I hope I'm communicating so far. Can we all still hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Awesome. All right. Business problems for designers. So these are some of the things that I also sort of like grouped together in terms of like how businesses sort of come to designers with problems, right? The things that businesses are trying to solve for, and how as designers we can sort of prepare for this, right? I've sort of like themed them down to 6. And oftentimes, the first one is usually growth, right? A business person wants to grow his company, his or her company, even as individuals, right? Some of us are in it for profit. It's not a bad reason to be in design. But you also want that growth. Essentially, the first question that, or the most important thing that is on this slide that I think we should take on is that we need as designers always seek to understand how success will be measured. So you need to understand from a business perspective, what does success mean to you, right? As a business, right? Then the designers know for sure what to really focus on in terms of every decision I'm making with this product is geared even towards, it's gearing the user towards that particular goal. I'll give you an example. If you look at Dropbox, right? Dropbox and many other products that are out there that is free, you'll find out that these products are free, but they have like an upgrade version, right? Or pay to upgrade and all of this, right? As designers, right, you are tasked with, because the upgrade is where their money comes from, right? So you're basically trying to upsell the reason why the user should upgrade, right? And you're basically communicating the value the product provides to me as a user, why I should upgrade, right? In that case, right, for Dropbox, right, user retention rate is of course a key performing index of metric that they want to measure, but also bottom line is how many people move from free trial or trial version to paid version in the last 1 month or in the last 6 months, right? And if a new designer comes in and say, look, I can help you get, you have 20,000 people who are on free trial, I can help you get 50% of that to start paying you, even if it's $2, right? It means that 50 people are paying you $2. That's 50K people times 2 is 100K, right? Simple maths. Business people will love you, right? But again, how do you do that as a designer, right? Those are some of the things that you only will unpack and learn when you ask the right questions within the business. Then the second point is something that I've seen designers do a lot, where it's like, oh, there's a new brief, or there's a new client, or there's something that you need to jump on, right? but we just jump straight into critiquing the design. Oh, this design, I don't like the shadow, I don't like this. It looks like it was designed in 1982. That's fine, right? That's valid. But the most important thing there is to first, the design is ugly, right, from a design perspective, but put that behind you, right, and start to diagnose the business. So what is actually wrong with the business? People are not signing up. You can tell because as a designer you look at them, you can tell why people are probably running away from signing up because probably the form is ugly, right? When you start to ask deeper questions, you start to unpack things that helps you diagnose the business even further, right? So you don't just look at the first layer in front of you, which is the design, right? And then you that. You need to go deeper into the business and understand what the problems are, right? And then you can move on to the design and say, okay, first we're going to be changing your design, we're going to be changing your direction and this and that. So I think those are a much better way to critique a design than just looking at the UI and saying this is trash, right? Because again, it might have direct business impact. Then understand the business problem like it's just. We already empathize for users, right? Why don't we do that for business, right? Because the business people are as important to designers as the users, right? The business that we're working on is also as important as the user, because without the business, we don't have any customer. Because if the business can't afford to pay us as a designer or as a design agency or as a firm, then we're not in business. Even the user will go somewhere else and find solution elsewhere, right? So you need to empathize with the business. It's like, oh, we're not making enough sales, and if it's something that the design can solve for, right? If it's something you can run an A/B test for, do a number of things for, right? Those are things that you want to empathize and help come up with suggestions, right? Come up with things that can actually solve that problem. And then fourthly, adopt a learner's mindset. Essentially, what this means is that a lot of the time when I speak with some of our clients, they often think that, oh, I know a lot of things about a lot of industries, and that's not always the case. That's because I'm a listener, right? When a new brief comes or a client wants to sort of like explain some of their problems with us to us, is that I listen, right, and I ask the right question. And in that case, I'm learning a whole lot, because everything, if I even know the industry very well, right, I would still let the person unpack whatever they know to me, because I want to have zero knowledge, right, and let you fill me out. Then I can pour back to you, right? But because a lot of times, if we are clouded with the things that we know as designers, we can make decisions that will probably not work for that particular business, because each business is unique, right? Otherwise, everybody will just be doing the same thing, but everybody can do the same thing in a different way, right? And that's what makes each business is unique, right? So you need to first adopt the learner's mindset. That way you can extract enough information from that company or from that business or from that individual, and then provide a solution. And then lastly, understand what already works well and why. And this is really important, because if it's an already existing platform, you want to understand what works well on this platform before you even go in depth into design, before you start to make changes, because things that are not broken, for example, like a process that's not broken, a process that the users feel like this is really seamless, right? Then you go there and you had 3, 4, 5 layers, and you push out an update, and everyone's like, why did you make our life complex, right? It was easier in the first version, now it's much more harder. I'm sure we've all had that experience before with one or two products that we've used in the past, but this is exactly what's happening. The design probably didn't really think about things that were working well in the previous version or in the version that they're trying to make better. And so by doing that, if you don't understand what works well, you actually make what works well even faulty, and then you fix the other problems and you create even more problems, right? So And then so yeah, all of this is great, but like, so what do you do, right, as a designer or someone who is new in this industry? The first thing is to get expertise, right? And I think you guys are already on the right path. But most importantly, be so good that you can be ignored, right? And what I mean by this is that you are not just creating designs that is, fancy pixels, something you can slam on Behance and everywhere. You're creating things that drive business impact, and this is where you will actually get referrals. This is where, as a business, you would get people who want to work with you, right? Because you have expertise, and not just in design, but design that actually converts, design that impacts my business, right? Think about it this way: if you run a store where you sell something online, and this is all you do all your life, right? This is all you do. You own an e-commerce store, and someone comes into your business, and they help you make that business 10 times better, right? In terms of sales, you will love them, you will adore them, you put them on retainer. Whatever they ask, you pay it because they practically made you more money, right, than you could ever have done. But if that's not the case, right, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget. Like I have this saying where it's like, if something is really good, right, you remember it. If something is bad, you also remember it. But if it's average, it's just like right, you don't remember it, right? It's just like, yeah, one of those. Oh, I know this guy, he can do this, and that's it, right? But in some introduction, you will find that people will say, I highly recommend this person, right? The reason they're using the word highly recommend is because this person helped their bottom line, right? They wouldn't use the word highly recommended, right? If it's genuine, they wouldn't use the word highly recommended if that person hasn't had serious impact in their business or in their life. And then the second thing here is to document results when you write your case studies, not just your fancy designs. Again, nothing wrong with fancy design, nothing wrong with showing nice designs. As a matter of fact, I love good designs, but document results, right? Talk or write like a business person, right? Write for a business person to also understand. Show numbers, right? When you took up the project, right? What was the numbers? How many signups did they have, right? Now that you've deployed your app 3 months later, how many signups do we have? How many users are actually using this app on a daily basis? How many users are signing up? How many users are referring their friends? How many, all of these key metrics, they're important, because if I'm reading your case study as a business, or I'm looking to hire you, right, or something, this is things that I would look out for, where it's like, oh, this person actually understands what they're doing. They understand the impact. They understand the power that they have, right? And they understand how to actually move a number from here to here, right? They understand all of this. And then lastly is to also create value, communicate value rather, that will be added to the business. And also always think about design as a driver. Design is not the only thing that you do as a designer, right? Design is not your start and finish, right? If you think about it like that, what you get, right, is basically people will just come to you and say, oh, we've talked about, we know what we want to do. This is the thing, just design it, right? And if you don't ask questions, you will just find yourself just designing, right? Without actually knowing how impactful is my design, right? What does it do? How does it make other people's life better? You don't know these things, right? Because you're not asking questions, right? So you don't want to operate on that level where you see design as the executor, right? Design isn't just for execution level, right? It's a part of the thing that you do. It's one of the things that you do as a designer, because you actually go in depth. As a UX designer, you think about a lot of things before you come up with a screen, just a simple screen, right? You think about a whole lot of things. So don't let design be, don't just let it be that, you just get the brief and it's like, do this, right? Without an actual story to like this is the reason why this is why we need this, and this is why we need that. And then you can even now provide solutions. So this is how I think it can be done better, and even really show a prototype of what you're talking about. And then I think this also now talks about this slide talks about bringing everything home. So you need to also design your earnings, right? Because without this whole thing that this entire presentation will probably be useless to you, because this is also very important to you as a business. As a designer. Designing your own earnings, it means that you need to speak business language. And I know for some of us we may run from this, but it's the nature of the industry that we're in, right? You need to talk to business people, you need to talk to decision makers, and you need to speak their language at intervals, right? And second thing that I mentioned here is that referral is the best form of marketing. So what I mean by this is that for everything that you do, right, always ensure that your work is really good. You're delivering quality, you're delivering on time, because then people can refer you, right? And I think it's also touched base on the third point, which is always deliver great work. Because when you deliver great work, people will refer you. And for me personally, I'll give you this example. Back in, I think about 7 years ago, I was getting a bunch of emails from people that I'd worked with before then, and they would just put me in CC. I didn't have a private conversation with them or anything. I would just see an email introducing me to somebody that I probably would never have met, right? Just a simple email because I had done some work with this person. In some cases, it's just maybe this person saw some of the stuff I've done with somebody, and they say, "Oh, where's this guy?" And then they shoot me an email, right? Out of the blues, zero conversation, zero marketing, zero spend, nothing, right? And what was interesting about that was that I was super busy that I didn't have a social life, right, at the time, because I was always working back to back to back. Because if the work is good, the reward for good work is more work, right? So if you as a designer, you also think of yourself as a business, right? You will design and you will design your earnings essentially, and you will think about things like this when you deliver work that is quality, right? You know that it will bring you more businesses. If you deliver work that is, not so much of a quality, then of course maybe people will refer you. And then the next thing is pricing, right? You need to get pricing right. You need to communicate design value, right? As opposed to looking at it and say, oh, this thing is going to take me 1 week, so I will charge you 1.5, right? You need to basically think about it from a value perspective. I'll give you an example here as well. So I'm sure most of us have heard of people who design logos for like ridiculous amounts, 20 million naira, 50 million, and so forth. And then same logo can be done. Same logo, if you put it down, you can put it on your Illustrator and you can do it. There's literally nothing that another designer cannot recreate. Like the Instagram logo, I'm sure most of us can design it in PowerPoint, right? Like there's literally nothing that you want to do. If I can see it, I can probably replicate it, right? But the interesting thing with that is that the person if you were contracted to do an Instagram, you would want to access the company and go all that, which is great, but not also like the amount of time it's going to take you, right? It's also like the value that logo is bringing to that company, the value that the work that I'm creating is bringing to you, your business bottom line, the value of the interface that we're creating, what is bringing to your entire product ecosystem, right? This is what the pricing will be informed by, and not just the number of tasks I have to do. Oh, okay, you need this screen and you need that screen. Even though those information are vital, but also when you think about all of that, then you place a value on that project, then you can have the right price. I think this is how we charge, and I think this is something that you should also adopt. Then build processes as an individual, right? If you're again running a freelancing, or you're working with, or you're thinking of starting your own agency or whatever, have processes in place. What is the process when a new client comes? How do you get information out of them? When you get information out of them, what do you send back to them? How do you charge them? What does your invoice look like? What does it look like when people sign a contract? What does the process look like when you start working with a customer, right? So these are things that as designers, you need to also put into consideration. You need this process in place so that everything is not just all over the place, right? Everything is same. When a new customer comes, they know that this person is super organized. It is from this layer to this layer to this layer to this layer. We start the work, we finish it, we move on to the next one, we deliver it, and we can move on to the next thing. That way, it's also very easy for you to track and say this person, this project is currently in this phase and it's going to that phase. And then the final thing that I want to drop it out today is that we need to keep in touch with customers, right? So if you design something for me, for example, and I've launched, we've gone live maybe 2 weeks ago. As a designer, I think you should keep that conversation going with the owner of the business. Saying, oh, how is the product actually doing? How are people using it? Are you getting any feedback from users? Are they saying anything, right? What can we help with, right? This essentially will give you some understanding to like how what you're doing is, what you're building rather is impacting your bottom line, also impacting actual people. Because sometimes when you say users, right, they often forget that it's actually human beings, it's people, and people have real faces, right, and real names. So oftentimes we just say, oh, users, oh, we have 10,000 users and all of that, and we often forget that it's actually about real people. I want to leave us with this: passion without results leads to frustration. Passion when you have, you really love designing, or you really love creating art, or you really love creating music, right? And you know that there's someone who is doing the same thing that you're doing, but they're getting more results, right? You start to get frustrated and all of that, right? Get really anxious, right? And this is no one's fault really, but you basically need to take a step back, right, and think about what's your process like as a person or as a business, right? What are you charging, right? How fast can you take up the project, and how fast can you deliver the project? Because if you have the right process, you can take up more stuff and deliver it faster. And it wouldn't look like you're doing too much to you, because there's a process for everything. And then finally, it would be also that you look at things from a point of view of if you have passion for it, also it comes to you super easily, right? So, but again, without results, without actual funds, right? Because with in the earlier slide we talked about businesses focusing on profit, but in the actual sense, as people, as humans, we also need that fund, right? We need funds, we need money to basically move our bottom line from if I as a designer, you want to be able to buy the best gadgets that can enable your work. You want to live comfortably. You want to have different things that you want to do, right? But again, without having the right attitude, the right mindset, you probably won't be able to do some of these things.
So, any question from anyone before we call it a meeting?
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay, let's have you.
So my question is, okay, I understand that for you to have an outstanding product and that would actually attract users to onboard on that product, you need to have a very good design, user experience, and design interface too. However, at what point does this design overlap with the value proposition of this product itself? Because I feel like if I have a product and you have a product too, even if mine is well laid out, the information architecture and everything, what if what you're offering is like more better? but maybe your own design is not even as sleek as mine. So is it also the work of the designer to also talk to these product owners and product managers that let's do this, let's do that, or you just design what they have briefed you on or something?
Yeah, I like that question a lot because I think it boils down to what I was saying earlier, where it's like we're both creating value. If you bring a product to you, if I bring a product to you as a business and say, Idris, I'd like to design maybe an app that helps me get from point A to point Z, right? Think about a practical example, Uber, right? When Uber started, nobody had ever done Uber before, nobody. So the designers at Uber didn't have a clue of what to look at on Dribble, on Behance, anywhere on the internet, or even Pinterest, no way, right? Because it's a new territory, right? So this is the problem, this is the solution we're trying to solve for. And then the designers have to translate this new information, right? It's completely never seen before, right? Type of solution. So when it comes down to actual business decisions, designers do have a say, right? As a matter of fact, when we get briefs or when we get to work with clients, if you're not like collaborative, right? We probably won't work with that person because we want to give you the best products, products that fits the product market fit, right? We want to give you something that when you take it to the market, it's something that we are proud of, right? You're also proud of, right? Something that will give you money, something that will give us, referrals, right? Because referrals mean money to us, right? It means business development for us. It means marketing for us, right? You are looking for conversions and all of that. So if the business is making decisions that will impact bottom line, right? As a designer, which is something that I mentioned earlier, we're not just robots where it's like, oh, I need this screen, design it. I need that screen, design it. I need that. No, right? Explain to me the why, right? And I think this comes, being able to confidently ask this why comes from a place of having done it a lot of time, right? I've been in this industry for a long time, right? I guess like I'm not easily pushed by like even the biggest business mentioning something and saying this is the direction. I need to understand the why, right? When I understand the why, then I can tell you, okay, these are better ways of doing this, or these are better options, or can you think about this? Can you think about that? Now, if the person is not cooperative and it's a project that's already ongoing, I mean, there are different ways you can go about it. Another way to think about it is the person is not cooperative. You still do whatever they're asking, right? But then you now create your own experience where it's like this, right? Where we launch this and then we also launch this and we try this both interface. Or we even take these two things, right, with 3 different users that you and I don't know, right? And we basically ask them to tell us which they prefer to do this particular task. As designers, they also remember is that don't be too sold on your own ideas. Don't always think that, oh, it's always about my idea, or they have to always listen to me, or my ideas is the only thing that can help their business, right? That's not always the case because we're humans, we can be wrong, right? And the only way to be sure is to test, right? Is to validate it, right? By going to the market really early, by giving it to users and getting feedback. Now, if you test it and you see that, oh, there are mistakes here, or it's not intuitive, you take it in good light, right? So essentially, like businesses and designers can work together. But if a designer strongly feels that the business is moving in the wrong direction, it's your job to let them know that they are literally moving in the right direction. They're moving in the wrong direction, rather. And because you can see that, because you're not married to their idea, right? Designers sometimes are also married to their idea. When you're married to an idea, you are blindfolded, right? By the reality, it's like you can't see what another person is saying because you just think that color. For colorblind people, they can't see yellow. Or if you're in the sun, I can't see yellow properly. Or if I'm this, and all of that is just flying through your head, right? That's to be yellow. That's what you care about, right? And but if someone comes with a stronger point and that counters yours, right? You need to be able to be subjective such that you take that feedback lightly, you iterate and make it better, because the end goal is to make a better product, right? And not necessarily compete between the business and yourself. It's not a competition, right? It's we are both driving towards a common goal, and the common goal is to build something really valuable, and which is what we have here. Value is what we both want to create. So what do you actually want to build? You want to build a product that helps me get from point A to point Z. You think we should go this way? I think we should go this way. Okay, so let's test this, right? Let's bring people in. Let's ask them for opinions, right? When you get those feedback, you can. I'm sure in some cases you might even be able to marry both ideas, the business idea and your idea together to form something. So yeah, in some cases you should be able to do that. I don't know if I answered your question. I hope.
Yes, you did. All right, I understand better now. Thank you very much for that.
Awesome.
All right. So thank you so much. We have come to the end of today's meeting.